What's up there, Workforce? Chris here with Work To Game, and it is time for another dungeon guide. This is going to be Copperbell Mines. So as we jump in here, this is still a very early on dungeon, so keep in mind that if you are the tank or if you are the healer, that the pulling may need to be something that's talked about in chat, since we don't know exactly how experienced it is, especially if you went in here as a leveling roulette and you're just in here with whoever you got. So the one thing you're going to notice is that these doors are locked, and that is because things are either going to drop keys or we're going to have to blast the doors open. So keep an eye out for those keys and then go ahead and open those doors. Now when you get to these lifts, you don't want to trigger the lift before everybody's on it, because you will leave them behind and it will drastically slow the dungeon down. It doesn't just pull them. Now as we move forward here, the one pull that I keep an eye on if you're really new to dungeons is right here where the wall blows open, but it gives you plenty of time to stop and respond. And this brings us to an early concept in dungeons. If you pull too much, you can actually number. Usually the tank does it, but anybody doing it is fine. And if you have a target that's going to explode or needs to die first, number that number 1. But if you don't, just pick something. And the DPS's job is, if they see that number 1 pop up, focus that down. And so as we pulled a lot here, I went ahead and just started numbering things so that we could start reducing the amount of damage I as the tank was taking and take some pressure off the healer. Now over here you'll see the guy grab the little blasting powder off that lift. There's another one up here on that little pile, and that's going to get us to our 12 ounces of fire sand, which is what the chamber asks for so that we can open the blasting device. And we're going to see this mechanic a couple of times. We're going to come into here, I guess this is our first kind of boss encounter-ish. It's still very early on dungeon, so it's not very hard. You're going to have lots and lots of mobs. They're basically untankable because they die so fast, and then one big guy is going to come down. Now, one concept I want to talk about a lot in these early dungeons is make sure that the tank has them faced away from the party. So if the tank faces them towards you guys, everybody needs to run behind that boss. Otherwise, it's best if the tank goes ahead and turns them. It doesn't matter if a boss has a cleave. So many bosses do have a cleave, which means that when they swing, it hits everything in front of them, that it's just good practice. So we'll go ahead and loot that. We'll progress through the next lift. Everybody's on there, and actually you'll see that we left some mobs behind. That's a clever way of kind of reducing the amount of things you have to kill, is you can actually pull everybody onto the lift, pull the lift, and then before the stuff gets to you, it triggers, the mobs reset, and we move on. So we're going to go ahead and go in here. There's going to be a chance to go left and right. We're going to need to kill the blasting caps in each of these rooms to get their blasting powder. And then after we get both those, we will once again blast a door open. These early dungeons take a new mechanic or a new thing, just in case this is your first MMO and these are your first dungeons to run. And it tries to really just play that theme up over and over and over so that when you see it down the road, you kind of know how to respond to it. So we'll keep picking up fire sand, and there's going to be future dungeons where you have to pick up keys or some item or something to open this up. Now this next boss is one of the first bosses in the game that requires paying attention to mechanics no matter what your gear level is. This boss does not take damage. I don't know that you could ever kill this boss without leaving him in the blasting cap. So we stand him next to the blasting cap. It is important that you don't kill the blasting cap, and then when the blasting cap's AoE goes down, the tank runs out of it and it splits it in 2. You're going to get a chance to do this again. It'll split it into 4. Everybody else does occasionally get to kill a Spriggan, but for the most part the tank does this fight while everybody else stands around. The 4 becomes 8, and at the 8, that is where they're actually going to become, where they can be damaged by everybody else, and you just blast them down. They die almost instantly. We go ahead and we use our sand, we blow it open, and we pull through here. Be careful not to chain too much here. This is one of the easiest spots in the dungeon to over pull. So just keep that in mind. And if you are having an issue, remember, go ahead and number something number 1 and just pull it down. Then the next one, the next one. Having everything at half life still means that you have all the damage coming in on the tank, as opposed to having half the things dead and half the things at full. Now this boss is going to be tanked next to his boulder. He's going to have some guys run across. Those can be pretty much ignored. There are going to be some upcoming dungeons where you have to pay attention to ads, but this is not one of them. So just ignore that guy and blast him down. He should be turned away from the party. This is his ground effect is always going to be forward facing. So as long as they face him into that boulder, you can just tank him right there. Everybody can blast him down, and that's the end of the dungeon. That's Copperbell Mines. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, concerns, comments to help out somebody new, leave them in the comments section below, and have a fantastic day.
You guys ever wondered what's behind me?
Let's go ahead and take a look. There's some Warhammer and gaming stuff. There's some German beer steins. There's a rainbow ball shooting out of his face unicorn, some Star Wars toys, some different architecture projects, some Work To Game mugs, one with a chocobo on it, some Jeeps, and then my face, and then the first skyscraper I worked on in my first job out of college. So, yeah.